Puzzle pieces on the floor, they don't fit in anymore. I'm changing, I'm changing. When they ask you who I am, what I've done and where I've been, there's one thing I want you to say. Tell 'em I'm brave, see it on my face. I am bigger than anything coming my way. It's a new day, now I'm not afraid. So if anyone asks you how I overcame, you can tell 'em I'm brave.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jennifer Marshall, co-founder and executive director of This Is My Brave. I'm so happy you're here with us for This Is My Brave 2020 Stories from Home. First and foremost, we want to thank our 2020 national sponsors because without them, this event wouldn't have been possible. Thank you to Alkermes, Allergan, Janssen, Synovian, GreenbrookTMS, and MeUndies. We're so grateful for your support. We'd also love to thank our local sponsor for this event, the Risa Fund. According to a study in late April by our friends at Active Minds, they found that 74% of high school students reported experiencing stress and anxiety due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, more than ever, we need to be talking about our mental health. We need to be listening and looking out for our friends and family members. We can get through this together. Our hope at This Is My Brave is that by hearing our stories, you'll be inspired in knowing that recovery is possible. For this high school edition performance, we were honored to partner with Our Minds Matter, a nonprofit dedicated to equipping students with mental health and suicide prevention tools and resources. These brave teens answered the call when we asked, "Are you ready to be brave?" It's now their turn to bring their stories of resilience and hope into your living room because we know that their stories have the power to encourage those still struggling to know that it gets better. Don't give up. Help is out there. By opening up the conversation about mental health through storytelling, we're breaking down those unfair societal pressures that tell us perfection is the goal. It's a lie. It's okay not to be okay sometimes. We need to normalize the fact that our brains get sick sometimes too. And we need to be there for each other by having these honest, open, real conversations about how we're doing. If I've learned one thing over the past 7 years by doing this work, it's that when one person shares their story, they give others the permission to do the same. It's what I like to call brave multiplying brave, which is why I am so grateful that you're here with us today. This Is My Brave's vision is to get to a place where one day we no longer have to call it brave for talking openly about mental health conditions. We will simply call it talking. So please help me welcome to the virtual stage the producer of This Is My Brave's High School Edition 2020, Erin Gallagher.
Welcome to This Is My Brave, Stories from Home, the DC Area High School Edition. My name is Erin Gallagher, and I'm a program manager at This Is My Brave and one of the producers of this show. I'd like to thank you for joining us today while this group of DC area teens shines a light on mental health issues to end stigma. Before we get started with this show, we'd like to take a moment to recognize our community partners, Our Minds Matter, without whom this show could not have been made possible. Many of the students you will hear from today participate in their high school's Our Minds Matter Club. Our Minds Matter seeks to change the culture of mental health within high schools through outreach and advocacy conducted by club members. Our Minds Matter has clubs in many schools in the DC area and in many more around the country. For more information, look them up at ourmindsmatter.org. We'd also like to take a moment to thank our local sponsors and community partners who made this show possible, including NBC News Channel 4, Oak Hill Psychological Services, and the Risa Fund. This Is My Brave is a very social organization, so throughout this virtual show, we invite you to let your friends and family know you're watching. Tag us in a social post on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and share the link to this live stream here on YouTube. Comment along with us in the comment section during the show, and shout out our storytellers along the way. Tag us at This Is My Brave, and use our hashtag, Storytelling Saves Lives. Since This Is My Brave is a storytelling organization, I thought it would make sense to tell you the story of how I learned about This Is My Brave and my reason for getting involved. 4.5 years ago, my son Jay died by suicide during his senior year of high school. We have often said that he died from undiagnosed mental illness, We feel that more accurately describes what happened to him. We now know that in the months before his death, Jay felt like something was not right for a while, but he never asked for help. We believe that Jay convinced himself that a diagnosis of mental illness would mean a life of living sick, a life filled with shame, a life of not being able to go to school or work, a life of never knowing joy again. What Jay didn't know is that 1 in 5 people face mental illness in their lifetime. He didn't know that doctors are able to treat symptoms of mental illness to lessen their severity. He didn't know that many, many people find relief from their symptoms through treatment. He never heard stories of people who've managed to live well and thrive in the face of a mental illness. This is why I became involved with This Is My Brave and why I wanted to produce the DC area high school edition of this show. So high school students can know that if they're struggling with something, they are not alone. Other high school students have faced challenges too, and they are here to tell you that things can and do get better. We're about to take you on a journey. You will laugh and you will cry. You will be enlightened, inspired, and our hope is that you will leave with a new idea about what mental illness is, thanks to the bravery of our cast members. Because this is the reality. 1 in 5 Americans live with a diagnosable mental health disorder. But because we don't talk about it enough, often people suffer in silence. This changes today, right here. We're shining a light on mental illness to show the world that the people who live with mental illness, we are your friends, your family members, your colleagues, your neighbors, members of your community, and students at your local high school. We hope that through our storytelling, you will better understand mental illness, find hope for yourself, or offer hope to someone in your life who may be living with it. You may be inspired to share your own story after hearing our storytellers today. It's when we share our stories that we open up the conversation, and storytelling saves lives. So let's get started.
Hello, my name is Leslie White, and I am a member of the patient engagement team at Alkermes. Alkermes is a fully integrated global biopharmaceutical company that applies its scientific expertise, proprietary technologies, and global resources to the development of medicines in both neuroscience and oncology. And as part of our efforts to develop these new medicines, we seek input from people with lived experience in the disease states that we focus on. My colleagues and I are united in our purpose to pursue great science with deep compassion and to help address society's greatest health challenges, including serious mental illness, addiction, and cancer. And we strive to make a real impact for patients, their families, and the community. For more information about Alkermes, please visit www.alkermes.com. Thank you and enjoy the program.
Hi, my name is Anastasia Vlasova, and I'm part of the This Is My Brave DC Area High School 2020 show, and today I will be performing my piece, My Most Painful Self-Growth. I still struggle to accept the love my greater self knows that I deserve. I feel privileged to say that even at least a small part of myself acknowledges that I am worthy of what many people refuse to believe they are worthy of: self-love. The gradual dissipation of my self-love began in middle school. I never considered my low self-esteem as the catalyst of the increasingly dark, dense cloud of self-directed negativity, mainly because my self-hatred took the form of disordered eating. At the time, I believed that self-love simply meant having kind thoughts about yourself and liking the way you appeared in the mirror. I didn't know, nor was I taught, that self-love is so much more. Self-love, or a lack thereof, dictated my friendships, my academic performance, the food I consumed, and how much I exercised. What started as a desire to get stronger and become a better tennis player turned into an obsession with perfectionism and a hatred for anything other than that. I remember stripping myself down to practically nothing and standing in front of the mirror and poking, pulling, and squeezing every part of myself that I considered a flaw. I was ashamed of the way my lower belly was squishy instead of tight and flat. I was ashamed of my undefined arms because they didn't resemble that of a professional tennis player. I was ashamed of my thighs because I thought they were too big. I was 13 years old, comparing myself to professional athletes and models, at least a decade older. I changed in the bathroom during sleepovers, afraid of being judged by girls who unfortunately also probably had a list of body parts that they hated about themselves. I declined going to the pool or beach with friends, knowing my cellulite and imperfect stomach would be on display. I decided that what I observed in the mirror was a girl unworthy of love from herself or from others until she became perfect. So I turned towards dieting and exercising, trying to fix my quote-unquote flaws. What started as just swapping junk food for healthier options and jogging to increase my endurance turned into an acute awareness of each and every single calorie that I consumed and scheduling lifting sessions on top of 2 or more hour tennis sessions. The relatively fast results in my body encouraged, or tricked, I should say, me into taking it one level further. I refused to eat anything that I labeled a bad food, even limiting my intake of fruit due to its sugar content. Any caving in and consuming a donut or a cookie had to be combated by going to the gym and running to burn those calories off. My severe restriction got to the point where I couldn't help but binge every week. My body was so deprived. I was so unhappy with the way that I looked. I felt so stupid for caring so much about my appearance. I didn't share my problem with anyone. People actually teased me for being so quote-unquote healthy all the time. When I was at home, I consoled myself by overeating because my body felt like it wouldn't receive the nutrients it needs during the week. I would spend the night crying uncontrollably, feeling so beyond ashamed and guilty, hating myself for my lack of control, and feeling tremendously hopeless. On nights that I binged, I would lay in bed, tears streaming down my face, switching between my fingernails, scratching my skin, and fists hitting the side of my legs. I wanted so badly to scream at the top of my lungs out of frustration and hatred towards myself. The following mornings, I couldn't even bear to look at myself because of how repulsed I was. I would go to school wearing baggy clothes and avoiding eye contact with friends. I felt disgusted with myself and believed others would feel the exact same way if they knew the truth. I remember eventually bringing it to the attention of a counselor that I'd become really close with, and her response left me speechless. We were walking out of her office when I told her, and she responded by saying, "So, you're upset because you ate an extra cupcake?" and laughed. She laughed at me. Looking back, I see that her response immediately shut me down. It made me even more ashamed of my eating habits and body because I felt so embarrassed. So I continued to hide, deprive, and eat. Without seeking proper help, I didn't realize that eating had become my coping mechanism for poor mental health. It had become my unhealthy coping mechanism that had changed my relationship with food to this very day. Months after my interaction with her, I finally reached out to others. Unfortunately, that didn't help much. In fact, my issue was dismissed as insignificant, again, by someone very, very close to me. Once more, shame and guilt occupied every vein in my body. I felt hopeless, once again. I felt like I wasn't enough because I thought a piece of me was missing, the piece that would control when I started and when I stopped eating. And so, the cycle continued. For years, I would restrict, binge, restrict, binge, restrict, and binge. This eating habit controlled my entire life, whether I went out with friends or not, whether I went into the kitchen or not, whether I took photos of myself or not. On occasion, it even controlled whether I went to school or not. I never received any professional help for it. I somehow just became more aware. After reading dozens of mindfulness books and watching informational YouTube videos, and hours of crying because of how difficult it was to overcome an eating disorder all by yourself, I evolved. And although I still struggle to this very day with food, I've learned a lot through therapy and being kind to myself. I've learned that my strength is limitless, that I can retrain my thinking patterns to radiate love and support towards myself, instead of internally punching myself about every single little imperfection. I've become aware of the beauty of the stillness in life, and that even during anxiety and depression, the world is just as I'd left it before I fell into a dark abyss. I've fallen in love with who I am as a person because I've learned to accept my unpleasant and pleasant thoughts. I've stopped judging others because I've realized that we're all going through a struggle of our own. I've learned that life cannot be enjoyed to its fullest until you learn to accept and love every single part of yourself, both good and bad, because that love is your eternal sun that allows every other part of yourself to thrive. My name is Anastasia Vlasova, and this is my Brave.
Hi, my name is Ilse Eskelsen, and I'm in the DC area high school cast of This Is My Brave. This is my essay, All You Need to Know. I couldn't tell you when it started because every day it is exactly the same and explosively different. I could tell you January when I was diagnosed by a Ukrainian psychiatrist who mentioned my having depression with a heart-stopping nonchalance. I could tell you last August when the sounds and spaces of the National Book Festival, a place seemingly designed for me, made me cry from raw anxiety. I could tell you middle school when I started taking it seriously, or when I moved to Germany and the headache started and my classmates' scary stories made me almost believe in Slender Man. That was the worst thing I could think of, a man without a face. I'll try and pathologize that later. I could tell you it started always. Before my head hurt, my stomach did. Before sleeping in made me feel disproportionately guilty. It was accidentally taking home a toy from kindergarten. Before I imagined, fully aware of my own cliches, that no one knew me, I dreamed of answering my grade school teacher's questions with sleepy mumbles, rather than some neat, accurate statement that proved me to be everything that I was thought to be. A chilly, sharp-eyed A student, destined for either Wall Street or death by hypothermia of the soul. That's not fair. It wasn't long ago that I began to wonder if my classmates thought I was made of ice. Most of them probably didn't, but there's truth to the heaviness that comes with other people's perceptions of you. Adults think I'm clever, a perpetual toddler who knows big words. My school friends think I'm a straight-laced know-it-all, benign and kind, and addicted to both joke-making and religion. My church friends think I'm a raging feminist with a chip on our shoulder labeled either the patriarchy or the way we talk about mental health or anxious depression, depending on how vulnerable I'm feeling in the moment. The truth is maybe who I am with my family, unbearably analytical, overwhelmingly emotional, at the breaking point of conventionality and contradiction. In the oft-quoted words of Walt Whitman, I contain multitudes. When I look at myself, I don't see multitudes. There are no worlds within me. I am neither good-hearted, nor witty, nor brave enough to stand here in good conscience. All I see is someone who once was or someday will be something innocent and authentic, but who now is, well, I never quite settle on what I am now. I don't look at myself unless I'm in a dark mood. It's true that depression has changed a lot of things. The way I feel, the way I speak, the way I interact with others. A year ago, you would never find me actively choosing not to pay attention in English class, or saying to a friend out of the blue, I'm going to get married on a reality TV show and die by age 23, or threatening, however insincerely, to burn down my father's nightstand. Yes, I have done all these things. The question is whether depression has changed me, the deep subconscious thing that I am beneath and above all else. I don't know the answer to that one. I keep looking, though, when I fall into bad moods. I keep looking at myself. I saw a video of a baby looking at herself at a place where floor-length mirrors met. She crawled eagerly to her reflection, enamored by it. Occasionally, she would look up to her mother as if to say, who is this half-imagined friend? Who is this strange and beautiful child? She always looked back at herself, then, joy and wonder mixing in her eyes. I used to look at my internal reflections like that. I remember thinking I had the face of a wood fairy, thinking I could do anything from writing a bestseller to starring on Broadway, thinking I was good enough. Now I repel myself. The safest thing is to crawl away from the mirror. I know that there is more good in me than I give myself credit for. I know that my descriptions of how I am perceived are exaggerations. I know that this is not always. Bravery, I think, is the distance between knowledge and feeling, either choosing to know what you feel, which would destroy me, or choosing to feel what you know, which is my only hope. The choice isn't exactly mine, but it's there. It's there in the way I shove my pills into my mouth each morning, in the way I log onto video calls with my therapist, and the way I scribble down strategies to distract away these feelings. It's there in the way I drag myself out of the room to watch TV with my brother, in the way I skip semi-optional homework that will only frustrate me, in the way I force myself to take a step out into the woods. I couldn't tell you when it started, and I can't tell you when or if it will end, only that I am trying. And that, I think, is all you need to know. My name is Ilse Eskelsen, and this is My Brave.
Hi, my name is MacKenna Weinberg, and I'm part of the DC area high school cast of This Is My Brave. Today I will be performing the song Hope, an original by me. When you close your eyes at night, do you hear the voices too? Whispering in your ear, so many lies they tell to you. You're not pretty enough, you're not strong enough, you're not kind listen to me. You're going to make it through.
Hello, my name is Kheira Bekkadja, and I'm in the DC area high school cast of This Is My Brave. The title of my piece is A Letter to Myself. In the beginning, it might be a little bit ambiguous, but as I share more, you'll know who I'm talking about. So let's get started. You came into my life in the 5th grade. I was only 10 years old. We had gotten a new teacher mid-year. They were a high school teacher. I was frightened. They were strict. I was traumatized by their heavy workload, strict rules, and unwelcoming persona. From that point, I changed. I was no longer known as the class clown. Instead, the girl who was a manic stressor. Welcome to my life, stress. Thank you for making me feel different, unwelcomed, hurt, despised by my upcoming class teachers. You made them scared of me. You made me scared of me. I didn't know what to do with myself. No one talked about feelings in my Arab culture. Those who spoke up were undermined. Everything had to be perfect in my 10-year-old eyes. My grades had to be stellar. School books color coordinated. Pencils all sharpened at the same tip. Everything had to be perfect. It wasn't anybody's fault. Not even you, my teacher. Not even my friends, nor my parents. Not even me. It's okay. I dealt with my unconscious insecurities until 10th grade. 5 years of trying to be the perfectionist I envisioned. I didn't ask for help. It was just me on my own. I reached my breaking point. I couldn't handle it any longer. I needed a change. I decided to transfer schools. Everything changed when I met my counselor. I didn't know there were professions where people specialized to listen to others. Sharing my feelings was something new to me. What I was going through was being validated. Transferring schools was a challenge itself. I was bullied, culture shocked, and hurt in a different way. I felt out of place in my new school, but I learned everything happens for a reason. It was in my new school where I actually got help. I was heard. There were resources allocated for mental health. My new school was the place where I was introduced to Our Minds Matter, a safe place for students to connect and learn how to cope with their mental health challenges. It was my haven. It was there where I learned to accept and appreciate who I am, wholeheartedly and unapologetically. Thank you to my previous and current school, Our Minds Matter, and my family for being my rock. Now I'm 16. I could say I'm doing much better, but from time to time, I have my breaking points. I want everyone to know that it's okay not to be perfect. It really is okay. Stress. Thank you so much for teaching me about myself. Thank you for proving to me that I can manifest whatever I want. Thank you for providing me the hurdles in my life that lead to my success. Stress. You are what motivates me. Thank you. My name is Kheira Bekkadja, and this is my brave.
I've had depression and anxiety ever since I was a kid. I tried a couple of antidepressants, but they caused a lot of side effects, and the benefits never really lasted. I was so frustrated by my lack of progress in talk therapy, things just never seemed to click. By 23, I'd already given up on the idea that I could be happy. I was slowed down, isolating, constantly irritable. Nothing ever got me excited. Most days, I was just waiting for the day to be over. Then I tried GreenbrookTMS therapy. By the second week of treatment, I wasn't constantly criticizing myself. My friends said I was more present, and I felt like it. For the first time in a long while, I wanted to do more than just sleep. I started thinking about ways to even add to my life. If medication and talk therapy haven't helped you feel as good as you want to feel, try TMS. I don't remember a time where I felt this good this long.
Hi, my name is Alex Cooper, and I'm performing my original song, Louder Than the Wind, for the This Is My Brave 2020 DC High School show. I looked through storybooks to find the answer to all that's been on my raging mind. But after all, there's only one thing I could say. What they joke about that makes it go away. There's not much that erodes my trust. I stand in the rain and I'm startled when I rust. But lately I just haven't been feeling all that well. It's the answer to all the people I'll never tell. Sorry I can't answer the phone. I've been so sick and so alone. But it's nice of you to check in, you to check in, you to check in. Sorry I can't answer your pleas, not after what's become of me. Not telling you where I've been, you where I've been, you where I've been. I wish I was louder than the wind in my dreams. 'Cause no one ever seems to hear me when I scream. And I wish I could see right past the void when I wake. 'Cause all the colors got destroyed by my mistake. And I wish that I was louder than the wind. I made a box for you today. Cut out pretty colored paper on display. But all Pandora's horrible secrets kept spilling through. I hope you don't take this to mean that I hate you. I nod and listen to the beat, hoping that it burns away the searing heat. But I just stand there frozen in front of the metronome. I just hope that it gets better when I'm home. Sorry I can't answer the phone. I've been so sick and so alone. But it's nice of you to check in, you to check in, you to check in. Sorry I can't answer your pleas, not after what's become of me. I can't tell you where I've been, you where I've been, you where I've been. Sorry I've realized all your fears. I haven't felt alive in years. There's more here than meets the eye, than meets the eye, than meets the eye. And sorry that I've been so cold. It didn't work like I was told. And I still can't tell you why, can't tell you why, can't tell you why. And I wish I was louder than the wind in my dreams. 'Cause no one ever seems to hear me when I scream. And I wish that I could see right past the void when I wake. 'Cause all the colors got destroyed by my mistake. And I wish that I was louder than the wind. And I wish I was louder than the wind. I'm Alex Cooper, and this is My Brave.
Hello, my name is Payton Arnett, and I am a part of the DC area high school cast of This Is My Brave. I will be doing a spoken word. Life is a funny thing. People who are the strongest will be tested the most. It's something I've always heard. On January 25th, 2019, my best friend was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. My best friend is my grandfather. He's watched me grow up and he helped mold me into who I am today. As soon as he was diagnosed, I prayed and prayed, but 3 months later, he died. I am someone who struggles with being honest about how they're actually doing, and my grandfather was one of the people I could tell any and everything to. He's one of the reasons I didn't give up on believing in myself and trusting in anything. Losing him felt like a part of me had died right alongside him. I now know that no part of me died with him, but something new was definitely born. When he died, I was struggling with believing in myself and had become someone who was always angry, and I gave up on having hope in myself and anything I did. I saw my mom, my little sisters, and my Nana struggling with the loss, and I refused to become a person who cried after he had died. I won't be a burden. Showing these emotions that I'm feeling is going to make me a burden, Payton. Stop being a burden, are the things I shouted in my mind daily. To validate what I was feeling, I told myself a few other things. You've almost lost your father, and you survived that. You watched your home become a war zone filled with fighting, bickering, and unforgiveness. Yet you hoped, and you helped bring it back to peace. You should be strong, and you should hold it together. And then in my life, some of my best and closest friends started to go through some things, and I wanted to be there for them. It felt like it was a sign. I should just keep going. I have to be strong. If I'm strong, it won't hurt as much. This anxiety is going to go away, right? Right. If I just keep pushing, it'll get better. These are the things I told myself daily. I thought my job was to be there for everyone. Now one night, in my dreams, my grandfather came to me and said, Payton, why are you hiding it from me? I've seen everything. And from that moment forward, I've seen him every night and we talk. When I'm truly at my weakest and the most emotional and vulnerable is when I talk with him. Why can't I just admit what I'm feeling to my mom, my dad, my little sisters, my closest family, and my best of friends? I thought to myself, I finally now realize that over time, it takes being truly honest with yourself about what you are actually feeling or what you're truly struggling with before you can admit that to anyone else. The ability to be honest is something I've struggled with for as long as I can remember, including right now. I'm still working through it, and I'm working on becoming a person who's honest about what they're feeling and what it's like to carry my burden along with that of other people I care about, just because that's my personality. I am working on realizing it is okay to be sad and be upset. And it's okay to let others know when you're sad. I have to take time for myself to feel before I can be someone who is there for others. You can't pour from an empty cup. It's something people seem to be telling me a lot lately. And until now, I didn't really have a reason to believe them. There was finally a point where I had broken down and I couldn't hold it in anymore. Everyone who was there asked me why I didn't tell them what I was feeling or what was going on in my life. I said that I've always been there and I want to keep being there. And every single person I said that to told me, you can't be there for us if you're not going to be there for yourself. Take the time to understand what you're feeling, how you're feeling, and take time to breathe for yourself. If you don't do that, you can't ever be there for anyone, Payton. I realize many people, just like me, want to be that shoulder to cry on, or that ear to listen. And I understand that it's hard to change. But one day, your mind is going to be so fogged up and so clogged, and you'll feel so much that you can't even hear another word from anyone. Now, obviously, this is easier said than done, and I'm not one to talk because I do still make the same mistakes that I've made in my past. But what I realize is that I'm making the effort to make change. And so you have to make effort to take a break, to let others know when something's wrong. I promise that the more you do this, the better off you'll be. And the more you'll be able to be there for the people you care about most. And when they need it, they'll be able to hear you. They'll be able to be there for you. Because they actually know that something's wrong. As much as you want to be there, you can't be there if you're not strong. And you can't be there if you're not ready to be there. I realize that now, and I'm making the change. My name is Payton Arnett, and this is My Brave.
Hi everyone, my name is Sofia Napoli and I have Williams syndrome. I also am part of the DC cast for This Is My Brave. Williams syndrome is a heart condition and also is a learning disability. My experience with my mental health has been rough these days, and I think that's because of quarantine. Lately I've been feeling a lot of anxiety, stress, and a lot of other things that relate to it. A lot of the times I deal with a lot of things, including bullying. People pick on me because of who I am as a person, and a lot of the times it doesn't make me feel happy. And people do treat me differently. Here's one thing I want you to understand. I live a completely different life than most of you, but I am also human just like you. My name is Sofia, and this is My Brave.
Hi, my name is Josiah Arnett. I'm a part of the This Is My Brave cast DC for 2020, and today I'm going to be performing an original poem titled The Book of Revelations, King Josiah version. I wrote this poem to express my feelings towards someone who sexually assaulted me, and it goes through the full process. And in the beginning, I treated him like a god, so it's going to have lots of biblical references, and I really thought that he was like a savior to me. So a lot of that stuff in the beginning of the poem is going to coincide with that. And it wasn't until the end, and also at the end of the poem, where I realized that he wasn't God, and those dynamics are different. And this poem is going to make you feel uncomfortable. It's going to make you feel creeped out. It's going to feel disjointed, and it's not going to flow in some places. And that's because that's what it felt like to me. You know what I mean? It felt very like it didn't make sense sometimes, or sometimes it made perfect sense, or it felt terrible, or like I was hurt in some way. And it was just so many confusing things, but it was also like under the guise of this whole God relationship that I had with him. So I wrote this poem to describe all of those things, and you're going to feel them with me as a team. So my name's Josiah Arnett, and this is My Brave. Psalms 112:1. Praise be the Lord. How blessed is the man who fears the Lord, who greatly delights in his commandments. How blessed I was to relinquish all my rights to you, he of a holy power. Like the song says, I give myself away so that you may use me. Righteousness flows through my bones and creates an everlasting Holy Ghost that jumps within my spirit and inhabits my flesh. For I am a God-fearing man. So when he wraps his arms around you like a boa constrictor, complain not, because that is God gifting you with his power. For no matter how hard you fight against him, the Lord always wins. How blessed I am for fearing the Lord. I was once a sinner, but when the Lord stretched his arms around me in a hug I could not run from, singing me soothing words like one with a cow up for slaughter, fear makes the meat taste bad. Righteousness ripped through my flesh and down to my bones, converting me from a free man to a man under the protection of the Lord. How blessed am I to receive a stripping of my free will and donate myself to the Lord's army. Be not afraid. Deuteronomy 20:1. God looks different to all men. Any man who can control your fear is God. My God is a 5'9" muscular-built man of mixed race. Strong, powerful. He baptized my mind with his delicate scriptures. I hold his commandments well. 1, I am your God. You are my servant. 2, you shall not break free of my will. 3, you will hold my name in your mind. You will think of me at all times. Praise the Lord, for his fruit bore me wisdom. Praise be his word to protect me from the sin that lurks within the world around. See, if I was to leave God, I'd feel the wrath of hellstone. My skin would combust one cell at a time. I must cling to the Lord, for he is light in this dark time. I cannot survive without the Lord, as he provides me safety from the world that is hell. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Psalms 23:1. I must remember my verses like a ghost must remember their killer. Let them stain my memory. Praise be the Lord. How blessed is the man who fears the Lord, who greatly delights in his commandments. 1, he is my God. I am his servant. 2, I shall not break free of his will. 3, I will hold his name in my mind. I will think of him at all times. My God is a 5'9" muscular-built man of mixed race. Strong. Powerful. Praise the Lord. Any man who can control your fear is God. How blessed is the man who fears the Lord. Be not afraid. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. When God wraps his arms around you like a boa constrictor, pray you're strong enough to be a sinner. The fear of God is everlasting because righteousness burns and purifies the flesh of sinners. Josiah, verse 1, chapter 1. But you are not God. Just because you held my fear in your hands doesn't make you my Lord. I will not bow down at my bed and pray for you. Call me what you want, sinner, dissenter, heretic, but I'll call myself free. I'll tell you what you told me when you held me in your arms and wouldn't let me go. Be not afraid. Thank you. My name is Josiah Arnett, and this is My Brave.
Hi, my name is Jada Bromberg, and I am part of the This Is My Brave DC Area High School 2020 show. I will be performing an original song titled At the Edge, which addresses depression and anxiety.
Time to fall apart if I do. I know that I'm nothing more than I choose. The darkest hour, the undecisive, the lack of power, the what if I did. I need it out of this dark hole that's dragging me down. And if I could be so at the edge, the force that pulls me in and out of my head feels so much like the end, but I seem to get out myself from this, but I will need some help with it. If I could be so at the edge, the force it pulls me in and out of my head feels so much like the end, but I seem to get out. Barely, I crave the aspiration. My brain is playing games while I hold on to anything I can that gives me the chance to live my life again. My life again.
My name is Jada, and this is my Brave.
Our Brave DC area high school cast was able to shine a light today on a topic we just don't talk enough about. I'd like to take a moment to ask our audience to be brave with us and to please post a comment in the chat if you yourself have faced a mental health challenge or if you love someone who has. We are all affected by mental illness. By being here today, you have joined a movement of people who are willing to be more open and supportive about mental illness and addiction. We hope that you'll use this experience as a way to start brave conversations in your own circles and keep them going. This is what it means to live brave. If you were moved by what you witnessed during this show and you'd like to make a contribution to This Is My Brave to help us continue this vitally important work, please see the links in the comment section or click the donate button at our website, thisismybrave.org. Thank you for your support today, and thank you for bringing our Brave into your home.
I thought there was no way out. Yeah, I used to be scared of the light, and I was swallowed by doubt. I'd forgotten what freedom was like. Puzzle pieces on the floor, they don't fit in anymore. I'm changing.